Welcome back to Recap IT. Today we are going to recap a 1987 crime thriller movie titled Fatal Attraction. Dan Gallagher, a married lawyer, has an extramarital affair with his coworker Alex. She becomes enamored with him and attempts to destabilize his marriage. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? Dan and Beth, a married couple, are the protagonists of this film. They go to a party, as shown. When he orders a drink, he meets Alex, a stunning woman. They get to know one another and discuss their backgrounds and professional lives. Alex is an associate editor for a book and a lawyer for a book publishing company, which is odd because they work for the same company. He decides to depart while she is unable to take her gaze away from him. The following day, Beth and her daughter Ellen arrived. They've made plans to visit her parents out of town. Dan won't be able to join them because he has a lot of work to accomplish. Around the meeting table, Dan and a handful other gentlemen from the business affairs department are sitting. Then there's Alex, who's their new associate editor. Alex teases him because he has already met her. It's pouring outside. He intends to return home. He's standing on the sidewalk next to Alex, who's looking for a taxi. She approaches him and the two decide to have a drink together. They appear to get along well and share each other memories from their upbringing. He informs her of his wife's visit to his residence. He takes a bath and then phones his wife. He's been contacted by Alex. She inquires as to why he departed so soon and invites him to lunch with her. He initially refuses, but she persists, and he eventually gives in because they're having a good time. Play with Dan's dog and crack a joke. They both appear to be having a great time. As they eat, she cooks spaghetti for them. She inquires as to how long he has been married and whether he has a child. She goes on to remark how fortunate he is to have a family, but she wants to know if they are still dating. He responds by stating that he is married. He simply does not believe it is possible for them. After sex, Alex and Dan are naked under the sheet in bed. He has to return home, and she is furious with him. She despises the way he flees every time they make love and fights before he departs. She sobs and unintentionally hugs him. She flaunts her wrists. He becomes agitated. He attempts to help her with her hands. He decides not to leave and instead will keep her warm all night. It just goes to show how insane she is. He's meant to be in court in the morning, but he's running late. As a result, he must do his task. After that, he returns home and greets his daughter and Beth. He gives her a hug and says, "I love you." They go to a large and comfortable residence the next day. As he walks to work, he has a plan to acquire the house. His gaze is drawn to Alex, who is seated on the couch. He invites her to come inside his office. She offers him a peace offering of seeing Madame Butterfly with him, but he declines, so she acts as if she doesn't mind. They hug and leave, and when she returns to her apartment, she is visibly upset by his refusal. She has often contacted him through his office. His assistant informs him of the situation. She dials Dan's office number. He takes up the phone and tells them not to bother him any longer, then hangs up. Dan wakes up in the middle of the night, both of them sound sleeping, to the phone ringing, and it's Alex. She arranges for them to meet the next day. They ultimately meet because she's nuts. Dan stomps along beside her, enraged. Alex refuses to accept the reasons why he left after having a good time. Despite the fact that they only spent the weekend together, she adores him. As far as he's concerned, he thinks that's strange. She surprises him by revealing that she is pregnant, but he initially doubts her. He arranges for her to have an abortion and manages the finances. Alex declines, stating that she only wants a kid and hopes that he will be a part of it. She keeps calling him and 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 calling him, and she is unable to contact him through his phone number at one point since Dan has changed his home phone number. She is enraged and slams the phone down. He returns to his residence after work. He is taken aback when he sees his wife and Alex conversing. Beth, who has no idea what's going on, is starting to introduce them both. She informs her that they intend to relocate, and she responds that she is expecting a child without informing them of the reality. Beth offers her new house number before she leaves. She returns to her flat the next day. He can't take it any longer and asks her to quit messing with him. It has to be put to an end. She disagrees and continues to terrorize him until he agrees to take care of the baby. She's threatened him, saying she'll tell Beth the truth. He swears to God that he will assassinate her. He needs to move on and let go of the past. They move into a new house, as illustrated. Beth is putting paint on the wall. Dan approaches the garage while Alex watches him from afar. She has been tampering with his car, and he knows who is responsible. He starts the car and drives away, leaving Alex in the car behind. He comes across a cassette with the words "Play Me" written on it. As he progresses, he hears Alex's despised voice. He then pulls away. She follows him near his new house without him realizing it. He goes to the police officer to report what Alex did to him while she spies inside his new residence. They won't be able to simply apprehend her since he lacks proof. She has just arrived and proceeds to the kitchen, where she sees a rabbit from Dan, but she hears water bubbling over on the stove. When she opens it, she sees a rabbit screaming. Dan needs to speak with Beth about what happened. He claims to know who did it and begins to tell a woman who came to their flat and spoke with her about it. He admits to having an affair with her and that she is expecting a child. What she hears from his mouth astounds Beth, who begins to wail and flail at him. She tells him to leave the house. He prepares a little suitcase for travel. He contacts Alex and tells him that he has told his wife everything. Beth gets up, walks over to the phone, and threatens to murder her if she ever comes close to her family, then hangs up. After school, when Beth picks up her daughter, her teacher claims that a woman has picked her up. She becomes frightened and searches the area for Ellen. When she doesn't find her, she continues seeking until she collides with a car. In another scene, Alex transports Ellen to the playland and returns her to her house. Dan pays her a visit at the hospital. He rushes into Alex's flat as she is sedated on the bed. She is helpless and sobs. As she flees from him, she slams her door shut. He reaches out to grab her. He lands on top of her and begins to suffocate her. He appears to comprehend that she will die and decides to let it go. She rises and attacks him with a knife. It's over in an instant, and she smiles as he walks away from her. Beth's condition is improving. Now that she's back at home, she chooses to take a bath. She is taken aback when she sees Alex's reflection in a mirror behind her. She pulls out a knife and tries to stab her. Beth pushes her to the point of collapsing. Dan is summoned by her, and he arrives quickly. In a bath, he tries to drown her. He can't see anything from her body right now. She's still alive, it turns out. Beth shoots her at the same time until she dies. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.